Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's update for immigration news. Last week I was actually at the Regional Australia Institute conference that took place in Canberra. I was there very briefly, and it was extremely interesting because there were actually representatives from the Regional Development Australia offices there, some of those who actually deal with some of the dharmas, so I was having some good conversations with them. There were economists speaking and various representatives from different regions and talking about areas that are important, such as infrastructure, of course. That includes housing, and health is another issue also. But overall, what is very apparent, there is definitely a growth in jobs in some of these areas, for example in New South Wales, in regional New South Wales. What is clearly apparent is that immigration is very important to the regions. That's not going away. In fact, in many ways, I think it's grown since COVID, particularly because we don't have so many backpackers, for example, and temporary migrants who are able to work in areas such as agriculture, for example, in the regions and so on. So that's not going to go away. But there's also that need for the temporary workers, but there's also a need for more skilled workers in many of those regions. Engineers, for example, are definitely in demand. So that was that conference. That was extremely interesting, and that's just a short summary of what I learned there. Now I'm going to talk about some other immigration changes that or updates that have been taking place. The COVID concessions have been released with regards to parent visas and the location for grant. That's the permanent parent visa, the contributory parent, and the permanent and the temporary visa. They can be granted normally for those who were located outside Australia. They will be granted for those people who are not in the country. What I mean is, for those who, for whatever reason, because of COVID, were here in the country and haven't been able to leave, will be able to have their visa granted on shore if those apply to visas that were lodged before the 24th of March 2021. So that's important. Also, there's something else that's come through with regards to skills assessing authorities for the subclass 186 visas. The subclass 186 is the employer nomination scheme that applies to employer-sponsored visas for a permanent visa. The skills assessing authorities have changed for some occupations, and those occupations are chief executive or managing director, corporate general manager, engineering manager, childcare centre manager, that is now a CEQA. For those other occupations I mentioned, that's now the Institute of Managers and Leaders. Medical laboratory scientist, that's the Australian Institute of Medical and Clinical Scientists now, and podiatrist, Podiatry Board of Australia. And those are going to change, they already have changed from the 24th of March. I'm just having a little look. One other little bit of information is the last invitation round from Canberra. That has just been released today as I speak, which is the 26th of March. And it shows invitations that have been given for the 491, for journalists, which is interesting, accountants. Minimum points were 110 points for accountants. That's for the 190 also. Marketing specialist for the 491, no invitations for the 190, however. Graphic and web designers, invitations for the 190. Civil engineering professionals for the 491 only. Early childhood teacher, the minimum score was 65, that's in Canberra. That's received an invitation. Also registered nurses, ICT business and systems analysts, software and applications programmers, database and systems administrator, computer network professionals for the 491, some of those for the 190, social professionals for the 491. These are invitations that have been issued by the ACT. Welfare, recreation and community arts workers for the 190, chef for the 491. That's with a minimum of 85 points. And contract program and project administrators invitations have been released both for the 491 and the 190. So it just shows that Canberra, and this came, you'll see from another update that I've provided on the ACT and what they're doing in terms of skilled migration. They're offering that for more occupations than many of the other states at the moment. Don't forget that every state has its own requirements. Canberra, you are required to live and work there for a minimum number of months before you can apply for that state nomination and receive the invitation. And there are more invitations, I believe, available for the 491, according to what Julianne O'Brien, the migration, the department manager for state migration in the ACT has said. So those are the main items that I wanted to update you all on today. I hope you have a great week ahead, and please stay tuned to our social media. We're advertising so many things at the moment.